everybody, and welcome back to Tales of Wanderlust. I'm Cass. Jasper is over here running around, and if you want a tour of our 2018 Hallmark Guanella, then stay tuned. All right, welcome inside the 2018 Hallmark Guanella. I did drive up into the mountains today to do the full tour video with the beautiful mountains in the background and the sunlight, and I forgot to hit record on the main portion of the video. So a lot of the B-roll you're gonna see, it's beautiful and sunny and there's mountains, but the main tour I'm actually doing here in my driveway. So to kick off the tour, I am going to raise the roof. So in this Hallmark camper, it has the super manual lift system, which you can tell by this little contraption here. And you can use a bit on your drill in order to raise and lower the roof. They say it takes less than 1 minute to raise the roof. So I'm gonna start a timer here. All right, let's see. One minute, 54 seconds. I had to change on the battery and I heard a weird creaking sound, so I stopped. So I could believe a minute when you're actually going straight up. Now, one of the reasons I bought this camper is because of all the natural light in here. So I'm gonna open it up sitting here in the driveway. Now you can see how much more light is in here because there are windows the entire way around in the canvas. And then on top of that, you have two really big windows by the dinette. You have the back door, and you have a big window right by the kitchen. So even though it is a small pop-up truck camper, it actually feels pretty big in here because of how many windows there are. So before we start the full tour, let me give you a quick overview of Hallmark and who they are and why I ended up with a Hallmark brand. So Hallmark is actually built right here in Colorado. It's a family-owned business. They've been building campers for years. I stopped into their factory once, took a tour, and it was really fun to talk to them, see how the father and the sons have done different design changes, added different things along the years. With this being my second Hallmark now, I've actually called them when I was looking at the used camper. I gave them the serial number. They actually knew what unit I was talking about. They could walk me through all of it. They told me what to look for in the canvas, different things to test out. So they've been really good to work with. I have an appointment with them in a month to do some additions on here and also check the lift system. Another reason I may not have done it in a minute is because mine is a little out of whack. So the whole drill shakes and they said they just have to realign something. So gotta get a few things fixed, but they seem like a really good company to work with. It also is a full one-piece composite roof. So there's no maintenance needed, a lot less leak potential, and then it is a fiberglass exterior. Plus, the canvas is 4-season. I actually talked to a lot of Hallmark owners before I bought this, and a lot of them, I asked them about wind, noise, and also cold temperatures. Talked to a few who have camped down to -15, no problem in these. So since we do skiing, Jasper loves winter camping, definitely needed something that could be 4-season, and this fits the bill. And then for those of you that follow the channel, you know that I currently have a Lance 845 truck camper. So why did I go from a Hardside to a pop-up? Well, this is a trial because Jasper doesn't like wind. So how this canvas is going to do with Jasper, I really don't know. That's going to be an experiment and we're going to see over the summer. But having this on the truck for a few weeks and driving all over the state, I can tell you the drivability of having a pop-up camper is so much better than having the hard-sided camper. The reason is it's big, it's heavy, and when you have a really strong crosswind, which is very common here in the Southwest, especially in the spring, that can be a beast to drive. So this being a very low profile pop-up, I've driven in really high crosswinds with this, and you can't even tell it's there. I do have it sitting on a 1-ton truck, so that does help, but I can barely even tell it's in the truck. It actually makes the truck drive better because it's a 1-ton truck and it's got a really stiff rear suspension. So having this in the truck is amazing to drive. Overall, the drivability of this is much better. I'm also averaging about 13 to 15 miles per gallon with the 1-ton truck and this Guanella. With the Lance, I was doing about 10 to 11. So it's a pretty good increase on the gas mileage as well. All right, enough with the talking. Let's go on a tour. All right, I'm gonna start over here in the corner. So with the Guanella, you can get a few different options in this back corner area. What I really wanted was the one with the shower, but I found this on the used market. The reason I bought this one now is because the owner really wanted to get rid of it. It is very much a buyer's market right now. And so I got a really good deal on this unit. So there's a few things that I would have preferred a different option on, but for the price, I couldn't argue. This one has an outdoor shower. And if I keep the camper, I'm going to probably figure out a way to have a pan or something right here in the entrance. That way I can shower and drain it out the back door. So the option this one has, it's a really squeaky cabinet door that I have to fix, but it has a big storage area and then it has a cassette toilet. You can also sit here if you wanted, so you can put your shoes on by the door because there's actually a piece of wood. Oh, here's an issue with the truck camper. The Velcro just got my hair. Usually I pin them up like this, and that's why. So that's the bathroom area. Now we have the dinette area. The 2005 Ute that I had, it actually has a full bathroom back here, which makes the dinette smaller. And then you have a full wall right here. I didn't really like it because it made it pretty claustrophobic. This to me feels a lot more open and a lot bigger. So that's why I really wanted to go to the Guanella unit, because with this dinette, it is 6 feet long. So if there was ever a really bad storm or something that I wouldn't be able to have the roof up, I could actually sleep right here on the dinette. Also with these beautiful huge windows and these amazing cushions that came with the camper, this turns into a pretty nice reading spot. So I really love the open feeling of the dinette in this unit. Now how it converts, it has this big old bulky table, which is actually pretty heavy, and one of these good old-fashioned RV lights. Now they do put lagoon tables in these, which is what I'm going to eventually convert this over to, because that table's a pain. And I honestly think I'm actually gonna have this down in a bed most of the time because of the dogs. Pop those cushions up. You have this little cushion that goes in the back corner here. Honestly, I'll probably get rid of that cushion because when it's down, you don't need it. And when it's up, that'd be a really good place to put your cups or something. Don't really want a cushion there. And then this is just a nice thin piece of wood, super light, that actually makes the bed. So right now you have to take this and you have to store it underneath the bed, which is a little bit of a pain because you gotta lift the bed. If Jasper's up on the bed sleeping, I have to have him off the bed, move him around. Not the best. So I actually want to cut this in half. That way I could slide half under this bench, half under the other bench, and it'd be a lot easier to convert and store this piece of wood. So for now, we'll put it over here. And then you take the leg, stick it in the hole, put the table on the leg. And then we have a dinette. And for working, this is actually a really nice size table. One of the mods I'm gonna do to this camper pretty quickly is replace this big, heavy, bulky table with a nice light bamboo table. Since you don't need this to support the dinette bed area, I don't really see a reason to have such a big, bulky table. And then also having a lagoon mounted right here, when the table is in, yes, it like moves a little bit, but with the lagoon, I'd be able to take it, spin it back towards the window, have a lot more of an open space. Also having that open space makes it so the dogs can get in here. They can use the little step area, get up on the seat, and get into the bed. So I really prefer having a table that I can slide out of the way. The other really nice thing about this dinette area, which I love in the Hallmarks, I actually saw a Hallmark on a truck probably about 7 or 8 years ago when I first started traveling. I remember seeing these outside windows and I was like, that's a camper that I really would love to have someday. So now's that day. So these windows open, which is really nice because all of the canvas also opens into screens. There's a big window in the kitchen. There's a screen door in the back. There's no air conditioning in here. On this unit, you can get it as an option. So in the summer, when we're camping, having all of that airflow, especially for working in the camper during the day, will be really nice, really huge. And even though when the roof is down, I have to slouch a little bit, you can have this table set up and you could eat. It wouldn't be the most comfortable, but it could be done. See, now I awkwardly have a piece of wood because the camera's sitting on the bed. That's basically the dinette area. Underneath the dinette, there is a little bit of storage. So there is a drawer. Then you also have your fuse box and a really nice big cupboard, which is where I plan on storing all of my shoes. Here's the kitchen area. It's actually a pretty good sized kitchen for the camper it's in, and I'm really looking forward to making a lot of food in here. So starting at the back by the door, there is a really decent sized NovaCool fridge. It is also a DC unit. It is not propane, which actually works really well for me because when I park my truck camper, I actually like to sleep with my head up. So I'm usually parking at a little bit of an angle to try to get that elevated. And with a propane fridge, you have to stay within a certain amount to be level. With the DC fridge, it doesn't matter. You also don't have to worry about, do I drive with my propane off? Do I drive with it on? Can I keep my fridge on or off? You can just always run it. So that's great. Really, really excited about that fridge actually. Then above the fridge, we actually have the other half of the bathroom. So this is where the mirror is. There is a small amount of storage up here. So again, I haven't really moved into the camper. So I have a few wet wipes and a Bluetooth speaker, the necessities. But that's where you can put your toiletries, get ready in the morning, and it's actually kind of a perfect height for doing that. I'm 5'7", so it works really well for me. Then with the hallmarks, something that I'm gonna have to get used to, down here, you actually have your master switches. So none of the lights or anything in here work unless you turn the master switches on, which I don't know how many times in the few weeks I've owned this, I walked in and I thought, oh no, the whole battery is dead. You gotta turn on the switch. All right, over here, we have a pretty good amount of counter space. So in the newer units, you can actually get a glass top stove instead of a big one like this. This is great for cooking. There's a lot of space, but I do like the glass top units because then when they're down, they're the same level as the counter and you open up a lot of counter space. The nice thing is countertops and stoves are actually pretty easy to change. There's a cutout in the cabinet, but those are all things I could work with. So I could upgrade that in the future if I really wanted, but the stove that's in here is perfect for my summer trial time, and it'll fit my cast iron, which I love to cook in. So that is actually really nice to have. Then plenty of counter space for cutting. One sink, can get 2 sinks if you wanted. I prefer the one, that way there's more counter space. And then down here, there are actually a pretty good amount of cabinets. Now this unit, because Hallmarks, you can really customize them when you order, there's no gray tank. This is where the gray tank usually goes. So this cabinet is huge. There is a ton of storage in here, which I personally like. And then since there's no shower, the only gray water I have to deal with is from the sink, which drains right out the back. So I can take a hose and put a gray tank in the truck bed versus inside, and I've saved some storage space. Then this unit does have the hot water heater in it, which I like because even though my shower is outside, I do have a shower tent I'll bring along. I can still take hot showers. Also, if I ever figure out how to put a shower pan inside here, I could attach a hose to the sink and take a hot shower inside. So very happy that I have a hot water heater, although you can get these without, and then you have even more storage under here. And then on this side of the sink is actually where the propane sits. And then there's a little bit of room. I wouldn't put too much in there because you don't want to damage the water lines, but it should be enough that I can put a water filter in so I can drink out of the sink. Then down here we have 2 little tiny drawers, but plenty of room for taking Ziplocs, sponges, things like that, utensils. Down below, I haven't figured out what I'm gonna do with the storage yet, but it goes in. You have about 6 inches to the edge of the camper, and then it runs the entire length. So either whatever you put in here is gonna roll around when you drive, or maybe I could put a fishing rod in there. I don't really know. Hiking poles? Fully assembled, not folded down? I don't know. This will be a unique one to figure out. But every little space helps when you're in a camper. Then on this side of the kitchen, this unit comes with a radio and speakers on both sides. The radio also has a CD player. So if I can find any of my old CD mixes, I could actually bring those along. And then up here is the control panel. So I have the hot water switch. You also have your water pump, your controls, so you can see how full your battery is and how full your water is, which is currently empty. And then this unit has an Atwood furnace. It's actually the exact furnace I have in my Lance as well, which works really well and it's been really reliable. So pretty solid furnace from what I know. And then the final storage is this rooftop storage, not really rooftop, roof hanging storage. It is both on the kitchen side and the dinette side. So there's a good amount of storage up here, which is really nice. But in the one trip I've taken, Jasper can get up into the bed just fine. He jumps up. Emma, when she tries to jump up, for some reason, she goes over a little bit towards the window, and then she hits her back on this cabinet. So that's definitely something I can work with her and train her on. But at the same point, I've seen Hallmarks where they actually take the cabinet out. I would leave the one over the kitchen because I want the extra storage. But this one, if I can get away with it and not have the storage, I can actually build a cool piece of wood, maybe put some hanging storage on this side, but then I could leave this side open so the dogs have an easier time jumping into the bed if I keep the camper. And then the final area of storage, which is actually pretty substantial, is underneath the bed. So you grab this, put some muscle into it, and you pull it up. The unit I bought did come with the winter window covers, which is funny. I haven't camped in the winter yet, but I've already used these because I went fishing with the dogs in New Mexico and it was really hot, really hot. It was 70 degrees, but New Mexico sun is really strong. So I put these on the window to help keep heat out, and we stayed really comfortable in the camper during the day. So both winter and summer use. Underneath the bed, you have a ton of storage. This is where I'm debating if I put my clothes in here or if I put my clothes up here, because having Jasper along, he usually stays in bed while I'm getting ready in the morning. So I either have to remember to take the clothes out I need at night or put them somewhere up here, and then I'll put stuff that I use less down underneath the bed. It's a lot simpler to close. All right, the last spot, the bed. Welcome to the bed area. So the bed area is pretty simple. It is just a mattress. This one is the east-west configuration, which is standard for your Hallmark. You can get a north-south configuration, and then it has some extra storage along the side. That is what I wanted, but again, there were certain things that I gave up because of the deal I found, so I ended up with the east-west bed. But the biggest difference I notice is you're sleeping surrounded by canvas. So I like to sleep in dark, quiet places. Up here, it really feels like you're sleeping in a tent, not in a camper. I mean, it's still more luxurious than a tent, but it's a lot more along the lines of luxurious tent camping than camper camping like the Lance is. Because when you're in a campsite, you can hear people's voices through the canvas. When I stop at a cracker, did you hear the car go by? When I'm doing long trips, a lot of times I'll stop at Cracker Barrels and I'll sleep there overnight. You're usually off the highway, it's gonna be pretty noisy. So I'll probably start traveling with some earplugs, and I'll be really curious how we both do, Jasper and I. One from a sleeping perspective, Jasper from a wind and noise perspective. So the canvas and up here is one of the reasons that we are in experiment mode in this camper. I love the layout, but I really need to see if the soft-sided canvas is gonna work out for the two of us. So that's about it from the bed area. So now I get to do the awkward truck camper dance and climb down, which actually wasn't too bad. And that is the tour of the inside of the Hallmark Guanella. In terms of an exterior tour, it's pretty simple on the outside. This one was a show model unit. Oddly enough, they didn't have a lot of the accessories on it. I'm used to having showroom units where everything is on it. So I am taking it to Hallmark in a month, and that's when I'll have them put the ladder on the back, a roof rack, and really add more to the outside. This one does have the 2 exterior mounted storage bins, which close, they lock. I'm gonna put a grill out there because when I'm at camp, I do actually like to cook outside, have my chairs outside, things like that. So I'll be able to store the table, the chairs up in the Thule on the roof, and I'll be able to store the grill, propane, all of that out back. Then the unit has 1 propane tank. It's a 20-pound horizontal tank. It's got your basic water fill, electrical hookup, vents for everything in here. And that's it. That is the Hallmark Guanella. So if you have any questions on why this unit, how this is doing versus the Lance, things like that, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, I have one more work conference that I have to go to, and then I'll finally be able to start getting out and do some exploring with Jasper. So appreciate you watching, and more videos to come in the future. Thanks, everybody.